It's officially spring. It's warm, the flowers are blooming. Well, guess what? You fools are about to get slam-beed.
A new wave of cybercrime is hitting U.S. hospitals. That from the FBI and 2 other federal agencies. Hackers targeting our healthcare system, stealing private data and holding it for ransom. Security experts warn hundreds more under threat.
Having your healthcare records taken hostage is terrifying. There's a reason HIPAA exists. It's so no one ever finds out you've been walking around with a side butt on top of your main butt underneath your jeans. Last October, cybersecurity officials were concerned about the role hackers could potentially play in the election. But while they were focused on that, dozens of hospitals were struck with ransomware attacks. These attacks marked a shift in how far hackers are willing to go and showed the world that it's easier to hack into a hospital than it is to find a PlayStation 5. All I could get my hands on was the German knockoff Amusement Console 1. Ransomware allows hackers to seize control of computers and hold information hostage until the victim pays a fee. And while these cyber attacks are not new, security experts were hoping for a reprieve after hackers promised not to target hospitals during the pandemic. They took the time off to practice a hacker's #1 skill, smashing their fingers against keyboards, then dramatically telling everyone in the room, "I'm in." But before the 2020 election, the attacks resumed, and it was clear hackers were specifically aiming for hospitals in the U.S. Not even Gray Sloan Memorial was safe.
I can't run a hospital without medical records and cardiac. What? Hello, Gray Sloan Memorial. Currently, we control your hospital. We own your servers. Tim, are you saying this?
Oh, man.
Come on, Tim, get it together. There are doctors who need to get back to doing it in the on-call rooms. In October, the University of Vermont Health Network experienced a cyber attack causing chaos the likes of which Vermont has not seen since the great Ben & Jerry's shortage of 2004 triggered a run on maple candy and led Middlebury College students to riot with Bernie Sanders and throw an electric bus into Lake Champlain. After hackers placed malware on 5,000 computers, that left doctors unable to access patient records. Employees had to fall back on written notes and fax machines, a technology so outdated the only diagnosis it could send was a bad case of loving you. A month later, systems still hadn't been restored. UVM was forced to send away hundreds of cancer patients, many of whom lived in rural areas and didn't have the resources to drive hours for treatment. Last year, the number of ransomware attacks reached as many as 560 healthcare facilities. Ransom fees could cost as much as $5 million per incident. I mean, for that kind of cash, you could save Lady Gaga's dogs 10 times. Hospitals have become vulnerable to these types of cyber attacks because of virtually untraceable cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Bitcoin, as I understand it, is a made-up currency that only exists in the mind, like love. And since lives are literally on the line when medical data is held hostage, hospitals are usually desperate enough to pay.
They know that people depend on us.
Once a hospital is targeted, experts say its data is encrypted, shutting down nearly all services.
In some of those cases, they delayed emergency room care and forced the staff in the hospital to restore critical heart rate, blood pressure, and oxygen level monitoring with just Ethernet cabling.
Hospitals have to rely on paper-based methods to provide care to patients.
Imagine having to tell a patient you took out the wrong kidney because you couldn't read your own handwriting. Even worse, it was the hot kidney. While you'd think medical data would be extra secure, hospital computer systems are surprisingly easy to hack.
Well, it's a really simple 3-step process. An email comes in, it purports to be maybe an invoice that you need to pay, and everybody's worried that they haven't paid their bills. It might be a package notification that you got something shipped to you. And people click on that, and they always click on that. There will be an attachment to that email that's usually something like a Word document. And by clicking on that Word document, it pops up a little Enable Content yellow bar. If you click on that, that is the final click, and it is over.
Not only does that final click lock all of your files, it also launches a missile strike against Clippy. 83% of medical imaging devices run on unsupported operating systems, with many using a version of Windows that Microsoft hasn't updated since 2014, effectively making them as safe as your grandmother's computer. Thanks to our chronically underfunded public health system, the money for upgrades is simply not there. Budgets are already strapped, so most can afford to spend only 4 to 7% of their IT budget on cybersecurity. That's basically nothing. Even Jeff Palm has a crack team to make sure his Instagram doesn't get hacked. His 10 million followers would be shocked if they found out who was sliding into his DMs. The first high-profile ransomware attack on a hospital was at Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center in 2016.
Hackers encrypted the Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center's files and held sensitive data hostage.
911 patients transported by ambulance are being sporadically diverted to other hospitals. Jackie Mendez and her ailing 87-year-old mother had to drive more than an hour from Palmdale to pick up medical tests in person due to a complete shutdown of computers at Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center.
And most of that hour was spent stuck in the middle of an impromptu Los Angeles freeway musical. Calling these attacks scary is an understatement. Not only is our most private data at risk, these cyber attacks can paralyze hospitals that have already been pushed to the brink because of COVID. And it's not just hospitals that are at risk. This country's infrastructure as a whole is extremely vulnerable, from our pipelines to our electrical grids. It's imperative that our government make cybersecurity a priority. And one of the ways to do that is for them to provide hospitals with resources and support to help protect themselves. Because no one should have to decipher a doctor's handwriting. Aw, thanks for watching. If you'd like to hear more from Full Frontal, hit subscribe and visit our page for more videos. Or if you'd like to be radicalized, leave YouTube on autoplay.